The first thing I noticed was the closet. It wasn't empty, just wrong. The hangers faced the same direction, like a hotel room cleaned too carefully. My clothes were gone, but the plastic hangers stayed spaced evenly along the rod. Someone had taken time to do that. My desk was empty. The mattress looked flatter without the blanket I had used for years. For a moment, I wondered if they were repainting the room. Then I heard my mother behind me. "You can stop standing there," she said. "Your job is done." Her voice wasn't angry. It had the calm tone she used with customer service representatives. I slowly turned around. "What do you mean?" She folded her arms. "Your sister's tuition is paid." That was the agreement. Agreement? I had never heard that word before. I said I lived here. "You lived here," she corrected. A second later, the glass came. It wasn't thrown hard, but it shattered against the wall beside my shoulder. The fragments slid down the paint and spread across the floor. "Don't make this dramatic," she said. "Just take your things and go." The strange thing was, there were no things left to take. A few months earlier, I had been working double shifts. The numbers stayed in my head like a timer. My sister had gotten into a university she was excited about. My parents talked about it all the time, how proud they were, how important it was, how the family needed to support her future. They never directly asked me for money. They only talked about the tuition bill at dinner every night until staying silent felt heavier than volunteering. So I worked extra shifts, weekends, skipped lunches. When I transferred the money, my mother briefly hugged me in the kitchen. "You're doing the right thing," she said. That was the only acknowledgement. After that, everything in the house returned to normal until the night I discovered my room empty. For the first week, I slept on a coworker's couch. Not because I had nowhere to go, I could afford a small place, but my mind kept trying to understand what had happened. Families argue, families say awful things, but being forced out without warning felt procedural, like something someone had planned. After a few days, something else began to settle in. No one called. Not my mother, not my sister. Even my father, who usually sent random reminders about oil changes or bills, stayed silent. It wasn't anger, it was absence, the kind that makes you realize your role had been functional, not personal. 3 weeks later, I signed a lease for a tiny studio. It had a single window facing a parking lot and a refrigerator that hummed like an old generator. But for the first time in years, I noticed something strange about my paycheck. It stayed mine. The money that used to vanish into family expenses simply remained in my account. At first, it felt wrong, like I had forgotten to pay something important. Eventually, the feeling changed, not into happiness, just quiet. The first call from my father came on a Tuesday night. I let it ring. He called again the next morning and again that evening. By the fifth call, curiosity won. "Hello?" His voice came quickly and unevenly. "Where have you been?" I almost laughed. "I've been living somewhere else," I said. "Well, we've been trying to reach you." I didn't answer that. There was a pause, followed by the sound of papers rustling on his end. "Listen," he said, lowering his voice. "There's a problem with your sister's tuition." The words lingered. Apparently, the money I paid had only covered the first installment. There were additional fees, housing adjustments, administrative charges, details buried deep in the paperwork. My father sounded like someone who opened a door and discovered a staircase he didn't know was there. "They're saying the next payment is due soon," he said, "and we can't figure out how they calculated all this." I leaned back against my kitchen counter. For the first time since leaving, I pictured the house again. The kitchen table, the stack of mail my father never opened until something became overdue. "You used to handle these things." "Used to?" There was a long silence. "Can you come by and look at it?" he asked. Not an apology, not an explanation, just a request for the role to start again. I looked out the window at the parking lot. A stray cat moved between two cars, stopping halfway as if it didn't know where it belonged. "I don't live there anymore," I said. "Well, yes, but this is your sister's future." I let the sentence sit. It used to work on me. Guilt was always the family language, but distance changes something about obligation. It gives you time to hear the assumptions hidden inside requests. "I already helped," I said. "That was only the first payment." Another pause. While he waited, I realized something. For years, I believed responsibility was what made me valuable, but now the power in the conversation wasn't money, it was the choice. "I'm sure the school has a financial office," I said calmly. "They can explain the breakdown." My father let out a sharp breath. "I didn't say that," I replied. Another silence. Then quietly, "I'm not coming back." The call ended without a goodbye. For a while, I stood there in the quiet apartment. No shouting, no dramatic ending, just the refrigerator humming. Later that night, my phone lit up again, my father's name on the screen. I let it ring. Not out of anger, but because for the first time in my life, answering wasn't something I owed anyone.